first of all, just want to get your view on the continuing tensions between China and Australia at the moment, with those two Australian journalists being brought home. Alexander Downer said on Sky News last night that he thought this was a new low when it comes to our relationship. What do you think?
G'day, Pete. Well, it's very troubling that we now have no correspondents in China. I mean, I take the long view on China that it will be a very important country to Australia's future. So it is very regrettable that there are no correspondents there, and I look forward to normalisation of relations over the medium term. What's
the cynical view here, though? I mean, is there something that the President doesn't want covered by Australian journalists, or is it just a continuation of intimidation with a message, a subtle message, not so subtle, aimed at our leaders?
I don't think it's a very good look to have effectively expelled Australian journalists. Not only does it deprive us of real media, real intelligence on what's happening on the ground, but it also is a bit of a vote of no confidence in our day-to-day engagement, which I think is very regrettable.
Do you think we should return the favour? I mean, should we be, expelling journalists from Australia back to China, or even stopping the Chinese news bulletins from airing on SBS?
We don't engage in censorship in this country, Pete, and I don't think you would find an Australian government stooping to use those sort of tactics. I mean, the reality is China is an important country to Australia. It will be important to our future, and we need to focus on normalising relations over the medium term without trading away any of the values that we hold dear.
OK, somewhat related to China is the social media platform TikTok. It's in a whole lot of strife at the moment for being engaged or having the platform that has encouraged some quite disturbing material that has been distributed on TikTok. It's being viewed by young kids in Australia. What's your thoughts on that?
My understanding is that Facebook was able to pull down the content quite quickly, and that is the same expectation that we would have as a government on TikTok or any other social media platform. I mean, they need to have a control framework where this sort of content is pulled down almost immediately. I mean,
it wasn't immediate though. I mean, TikTok had it for about a week.
Well, I mean, that is clearly unacceptable, and that is not the standard that we would expect. I mean, all through the years of free-to-air TV, there have always been standards about what you can show. Social media to today's children is the same as free-to-air TV was 20 years ago.
Do you think that the platform, should continue as it is in Australia? There has been this debate about whether it should exist in Australia as it is in other parts of the world. The US had been moving to ban it as well. Do you believe it should be banned here, or do you think it does have a future in some capacity?
I'm not a big one on banning, Pete, but the nature of the regulation you can impose upon businesses that are conducting their affairs in our country is very clear. We can impose all sorts of obligations on businesses. At the moment, there is a Senate inquiry looking at the role of these sort of organisations and asking the question whether or not there's any foreign interference concerns that we should be aware of, and that is an appropriate place to investigate these matters.
OK, just finally, let's talk about the Aboriginal flag. I mean, you've finished an interim report with some 32 recommendations. We won't go through all of those recommendations, but just a couple of them. What have you found?
Well, I mean, broadly speaking, technology is a very good thing. It is something that is a job creator, not a job killer. And, of course, in relation to fintech, this is something that will improve the level of choice that's available in the market. Many young people are using buy now, pay later schemes, and for many of them, that is going to be a better option than using a credit card, for example. So we're all about more choice and more competition, and I think that's a good thing for us to focus on.
Now, there's an oversaturation of those programs now, isn't there? We just spoke to Peter Switzer about those buy now, pay later companies.
The evidence is that the consumer detriment is very, very limited where it exists at all, if it exists at all, and certainly compared to credit cards, where people can lose control of their financial affairs by virtue of spiralling debt. Buy now, pay later scheme, which is an innovative product can actually be a better option for many Australians.
When it comes to the Aboriginal flag, and I know that you have spoken about this, and this is all based around the copyright of that Aboriginal flag too. I mean, yes. Everyone agrees that we are kind of making progress, I suppose, when it comes to this. But what is I guess the question I have is what is at a reasonable price?
Well, it'd be unhelpful for me to engage in putting a number on the value of the rights. Certainly, the negotiations between the executive government led by the Minister Ken Wyatt and Mr Harold Thomas, who created the flag, are sensitive negotiations. My judgment would be that we should look to pay a fair price, and we shouldn't be looking to extinguish contractual and legal rights. I mean, a Liberal government should not do that, and I'm confident that we will not do that. But the principle here is that we should own this flag, or the rights to this flag, as a Commonwealth government on behalf of all Australians, because it is a very important national symbol.
But I mean, is there a ballpark here? Is there anything that's been talked about? I mean, I'm curious, I suppose.
Look, the only proxy, there are a couple of proxies here. The Commonwealth effectively established a competition to design the Australian flag 120 years ago, and we paid people, I think 4 or 5 people, a sum of money. And then in 2000, the Olympic Committee purchased the rights to the boxing kangaroo flag for around $10 million. So there are a couple of proxies there from history that may provide some guidance for this negotiation. But as I say, unhelpful for me to put a number out there today.